know what I did, don't ask me.
Need to pause it. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me, guys? Can y'all hear me? All right, Mvhayv. Okay. Istungon jokayadega. Istungon jokayadega ga. Remember that now, and I don't have it up here. Istungon jokayadega ga. So, a lot of y'all wanted, I was working on Halloween words. So I was running down here to get to y'all. But here it is. Istungon jokayadega ga. There you go. Jokayadega ga. And istungon jokayadega right here. Remember the ending ga and aga. And that has a tone. Okay, like istungon jokayadega ga. And then istungon jokayadega. All right. This has a tone. Okay, has a tone. So that's what we're going to go through today is tones. Tone has everything to do with language. Okay. So, and I got these Halloween words coming here, and I have a story to tell you today. I want to tell you a scary story because it's going to be Halloween here pretty soon. And when you tell stories, tone goes with it. And even down to sometimes they'll go into a real low voice. Real low voice. And then they'll come up, you know. And so it's the tones can change the meaning of a word, but it also can mean, it can make it, and a lot of people says, well, a story is scarier or funnier in the language than it is when you try to tell it in English. Well, the reason why it's like that is because of the tones that you make. You see what I'm saying? Tone, like bingalijida, to scare someone or scare something. But if you say you're scared or I was scared, if I'll say I'm scared, I say jabingalis. But if you say I was really scared, jabingalides. Hear that tone? Jabingalides. And then you can be serious about it. This can be serious, and that's why tone is something that, besides sounds, is important too, okay? So nagi di, see that, hear that tone? Nagi di is like something you're asking, what is that? What's that thing? Like if you're asking Nagidi, can y'all see me? Nagidi. I'm asking what this is. But if you say noggin is like what? And that's what I use with my grandkids all the time because it's always grandma, grandma, grandma. And I'll say noggin, what? You know, and so I got a call right after class, right after we was gone all day pre-testing Mason school. So, you know, my granddaughter called me and she said, Grandma, I think I broke my finger. And she did, playing basketball, because all three of my grandkids are real rough. And I said, Don, what did, baby? Hear that? She said, Grandma, I think I broke my finger. And I said, Don, what did, baby? I said, how? And she said, a buckle hit her ring finger and bent it all the way back and it broke it. And you know, and I said, Don, what did? You know, Don, what did? And I said, oh baby, hear that tone? When she told me she broke her finger, I said, oh baby, I said, Don, what did? Don, what did? Hear that tone? What did? So consonants can be doubled and then no longer. Like ido. Ido is short, tree. Ido. But when you get the snake, jito, hear that? It's tail longer. Pudgy is tail. Pudgy is stream. Okay, this is what tones are going to do, guys. And this is what, and I'm going to tell this story here. Right? And somebody wanted to do verbs. So being Thursday, I thought, well, you know what? I asked, and we're going to get to it. So try to hear whether it's saying the A word or the B word or the C word. Listen. Okay. Laksa. Okay. Somebody needs to turn off their, need to mute. Somebody mute. I don't know who's, they got a little bit of sound here going. Can y'all hear me though? It's like a humming sound, guys. It's like a humming sound. Okay, there you go. But okay. So laksha is a hoof, but laksha is a liar. And when I tell the story, it's going to you're going to hear these tones, okay? Baga, wine, vine. Baga, hunting. Pudgy, tail. Pudgy, river. Haji, drunk. Okay, ili is his or her foot. It's short, but ili is dead. And I'm going to tell that story here in a little bit about, and I'm going through these words like ilga, death, skull. If y'all come up with words, email me now, because y'all know my email. And I'm trying to come up with zombie. I come up with mummy and everything. And it's just got to do with like different Halloween words. Ihi, her husband. Ihi, yes. And a lot of them says, how do we know what it is? Okay, if you're going to say, if somebody asks you a question and you say ihi, that it's that long sound. Ihi, they're talking about somebody's husband. When you hear somebody talking, you will hear that. Okay, ihi, ihi dos. Just say that's so and so's husband. But if you say ihi, you mean it's yes. And foot, ili. But if you say it's dead, ilibajos, somebody's dead. You say ilibajos, you hear those sounds, the tone of it, and that no, you mean they're talking about death, okay? Nagi. And Nagi, he's looking at. So if they name something, you can say he's looking at it, but he sees it. He See, most of those are long. Okay. Right here it says V or A. Remember now V is and A is ah. Okay. Ah. So if I was to ask you what a grasshopper is, you would say duh. Hear that duffle, and hear that double sound duffle. But if you put a long sound in there, it would be daffle. And there's no such word as daffle. It's got to be duffle is grasshopper. But there's no such word as daffle as a grasshopper. Duffle is a grasshopper. And listen to this one now, coffee. Coffee, we don't have a word for it, but we can say coffee. Coffee. And that's how my grandkids say coffee. Coffee. Loja. Jaboja. Hear that Jaboja. Jaboja. Or even just boja. And my grandkids just call their grandfather boja. They don't know nothing else, so they'll say boja. Boja. Coat. Gaba. Gaba. Hear that? Gaba. Gaba. Waga. Wa. Hear that? Wa. Remember those 2-letter sounds? Waga. Car. Adami. Listen there. Hear that tone? Adami. Ayo. Okay, here we go. Change. Yanasa. Yanasa. Sada. Bagana. Bagana. Halbada. Alligator. Halbada. E or I. Ijo. 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 Hear that? Ijo. Figgy. Okay, when it's short, you don't have much of a tone, but when it's long, you do. Okay. Ijo is deer. Figgy. Figgy is hard. Iwanwa. With brother or sister. Iwanwa. Here, Iwanwa. Abisi. Igana. Iga. Okay, see, look here. Igana is long. Igana. But you can hear that tone, but look at his or her head. Iga. It don't have a tone. Iga. Igana. Okay, milk. Wagabishi is short. Summer. Miski is more of a tone to the long sounds, if you notice that. And so I'm gonna go through that with you guys. And somebody wanted to learn verb tenses. So we're gonna learn verb tenses. We're gonna go back over them because verbs is important, okay? Use the right diphthong. This is what's kind of messes me up right here. When you see a diphthong, it's a u-e, huiwa, ahogoji. And if that's a-u, a-u, and e-u, huiwa. I mean, u-e, huiwa, ahogi, ahogoji. It's a-u. Logi. This is a-u, a-u. And see, that's kind of, this is what's hard to do right here, the diphthong. Because to me, and you know, I pronounce a child hobiwa. Hobiwa. You can, I kind of say it with the E sound, like hobiwa. Hobi, like he, obi, e, but the actual spelling is hobiwa. U-e. Any questions so far? Because this is something that we was going to go back over because this is kind of the way we speak, and it's kind of being that's where, okay, this is a good question. What's the difference between ooh and just oh? Slight difference only. Slight difference only. Well, low, and that's where it's, and this is where that diphthong comes in. And you know what? I have tried to logi. It's li u gi e logi. But you know, exactly. Somebody said it's a bit challenging to pronounce two vowels in a row. And that's why sounds come in, guys. Sounds. This is where sounds come in. Aho goji. Aho. Oh. And to me, when you say an AU here, like I would say aho goji, and it is uguchi. But we don't speak that way. And right here, logi. Hear that logi. Logi. And that's not how we speak though. But you have to, when you read it and spell, it's got to be spelled that way. And that is so weird to me because we don't speak that way. To me, logi, hear it? Logi is LO to me. But if somebody wrote that way, I'll probably take it and say, okay, I know what this is. Okay, but this is where tones come in, okay? And tones are like, and tones is very important, you know, okay. Verb. Here we go. Verbs. Anytime like he just, I'm looking or I'm seeing something right now. Choga, he just, he just, okay, he just, you're doing something right now. And this is he just, the infinitive verb. Well, Thurs said something about English has things like that too. So see, we're just probably, or to me, you know, I don't speak, I'm gonna tell you this, I don't speak perfect, I speak more slang English than anybody else, and I don't use it the way it should be used. But now you give me Muscovy, and I'll tell you how to use that. I'll show you how to use it. And that's that difference. And I don't know why. When I was in school, though, I was good at literature. I was a best reader, and I was a best speller in school, all the way through school. Okay, I was the best reader. I could comprehend reading, and I was way up there in reading and writing, and but didn't know much English. I didn't care for English. But and this sometimes is kind of challenging too, you know. So okay, so I am seeing and looking at he just, say you're looking at a dog. If a he just, I'm seeing a dog. And that's like right now, I see a dog. I see a dog. If a he just, lead guess, Hadi hombes. Hadi means just now. Hadi hombes. Hadi unayes. I'm just not talking. Hadi yagabes. I'm just not walking. Okay. But right here, I saw if a hijayonsh. I was looking at a dog. That's past, that's bucks. That was yesterday. Okay. I ran. Likayonks. I was running. I ran yesterday. Orzovsky Bakshangi Mvhayv. I ate softy yesterday. Ornaya Bakshangi. I talked yesterday, or I spoke yesterday. Yagabayams. I walked Hobayin Yagabayams. I walked a long way yesterday. So you don't even have to put yesterday. You do in English, but here, all you have to say is Bakshangi Yogabayams. That means I walked yesterday. And that means, well, Bakshangi means yesterday I walked. Bakshangi Yagabayams. See, you don't have to say like you do in English, I walked far. Or you could say, Hobayin Yagabayams. Or Bakshangi Hobayin Yagabayams. Yesterday I walked far. And that's exactly saying what it is in English. It's just not as long. Okay, somebody asked about future tenses. I will see Hijafis. Hijafis. It's got the fis at the end in rules. But now, as a speaker, I've heard his, Hijafis. And I don't know if that's dialect, how we were taught, but I've always said Hijafis or Hijafis. Either way, it's understood. You're pronouncing the A in Hijayunks, as an English I sound instead of a long A sound in English. Okay, Hijay, A. It's got to be hey, A. Hijayunks. Hijay. Do I have that on there? How did you? Hijayunks. Hijayunks. That's an A, the I is A. Hijay, A, see, it's got He-E-G, A, Niki, S. English pronounces, a lot of times it's E, but this is Hijayunks. It has an A sound. Okay, look here. Onayunks. Onayunks. Yagabayunks. I walked. Okay. Does that kind of answer the question, Thor?
Well, sometimes when you say it, it sounds to me like you're saying Hijayunks.
Yeah, Hijayunks. I know that's just how we speak, and it's understood between speakers. Like this morning, I talked to two speakers, and we understood each other perfectly. But some Nagin Jimbo Hida Jayadet Ejin Hikidoweskeden. And he said Ja Ya Jet. You see? Jaya Jet. That's an A. And he said Nagin. And I said Onayan Major Handuwi Jihayi Dano Wachingwando Eskedun. And he was all for it. But see how that sounded though? But it was understood, and he's 86 years old, and he understood me. And see, that's what I'm saying. This is where listening and to speakers, it's understood, but to new learners, that's where you're gonna have to ask me questions on that. Ask me like you just did here, because y'all hear different as new learners or studiers than it is with speakers. And we may not even pay attention. You might not even pay attention to how I said it. He was just paying attention to what I said, but he understood. And with you though, y'all's listening, and that's a good thing, listening to it. You're hearing me in a different sense, I guess. Ella Chinda, how did you hear me on that? Because you're a speaker.
Stone Bunayat Jingi Thaga. It to me, it just, just like you said, I'm hearing it. And one of the things that I was talking to an elder when I was at home in Okmulgee, and when I was telling him, I said, some monetalgi hayawad, gita got stone Bunayat Daigo, Staget, Agido, Sketchen, Imadat said moin manitel gidat nakchiga jago daiduat stone stone jimane jidua. How does he help you by correcting you when you're speaking it? But just like you're saying, we were sitting there talking, and we weren't paying attention to how he was saying it. I was hearing him what he was saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so and as I was telling her in our language, I had a young Creek learner correct me on the way I was talking, and when I shared that with that elder, he says, "Oh my gosh," he said, but he's saying all this in Greek, and he said, they're not supposed to be correcting you because you're speaking from your childhood, what you learned as you grew up, and they're just learning it now, and is basically what he said. But no, yeah, just like you're saying, though, so a lot of times we don't hear how you say it; we're listening to what you say.
Yeah, we're not being speakers. We know what's said and don't really listen to what, but being learners, listening is a good thing, but it's the like I didn't hear it, but he did, so I don't. So y'all have to tell me, let me know, it's accents like a Brit and American talking, everyone understand each other, but if he shifts about, we know to try to learn. Yeah, that's right. Y'all have to learn from rules, but didn't hear grow up speaking, and that's where you have to listen. And then, but my, you know what, Ford, this is what I learn your sounds and just speak it. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about how you're using it right now. Just kind of get to saying these words right here, like bonayans, yagabayans, hijayans. Take your infinitive verbs, because I think that's how we learned, maybe. Because I don't know how, as speakers, we did future tense, present tense, how we learned that. Because we didn't have them saying, Magacha, future tense dos, Baksangi Luis, or anything like that. I don't know how we learned it. And this is kind of complicated for us too, but let me know, what you hear, because that listen is what's helping you. So let me know.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Many of us.
I was listening to Edwin Marshall. Here's somebody. I was listening to Edwin Marshall and Joanne Powell on YouTube. They were on a language symposium video. You could tell it's spoken more naturally, not so perfect. I think that comes from those different dialects. I try to listen with loose ears when I listen to speak. It helps me understand meaning beyond the structure. I think that's how we learned, just like she said. It was more like we didn't have rules, we were just spoken to, but that was every day for us. So for you new learners, just listening, and if he said the same thing I said, if he said it to me, I understand him. So and the Indians right here, like unks, is what you use when you're past, when it's past. That's the main thing I want y'all to learn, is this, like the infinitive verbs, the Indians, bonayes, hijayans, those Indians is what, and then I probably could understand the rest, So if you got questions, Thor, just kind of throw it at me and let's see if I can answer it, you know. Okay, now future tense. This is where I was at. Somebody asked for future tense. PG, any of these can be made into a future tense that we just studied. Okay, like right here, hijafis. Hilishaya boxing hijafis. Or alicha boxing hijafis. See, I will see a doctor tomorrow. Obeying litgathis. But now see this, sometimes some people says his. Litgahis. And it means the same thing. They use the his instead of the this. Okay. And that's just how that's another way how we speak. Now, this is the way it is by rules. But the way I really speak is his. Bonayahis, 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 yagabahis, litgahis, hijahis. Some says his, but I use it either way, and I'm more like this and here, the this now, because I've been using it all this time, teaching it that way. And that's but see, I walked away from the way I naturally speak, because there's a natural way of speaking. Yagabahis or yagabahis. And we may say that this, but we just kind of turned it into his. Yagabahis. See, and maybe we heard
Mvhayv, Mvhayv, Mvhayv,
yeah.
Mvhayv, I'm not what Malahan, I know what. Jihadis is how how I say it,
Yes.
because and then I say it real fast. Jihadis, but I don't say it with these three with that C sound closer to the H sound, E sound. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hijadis. So I say hijadis. So but when I say it, I just run them all together. Hijadis. But I don't say them together that way,
Okay, so see,
because I'm hearing it, with that HEC sound
Yeah.
together.
and that's where maybe because we speak fast.
Yeah.
If you don't think about it, we just speak it, and it may sound more like a hiss than a this. You know what I'm saying? But to other ones, it would be different. I think to new learners, they would hear it either way. I think, and that's where
Yeah.
teachers, we need to pay attention. I guess how we're saying them. It says we're learning the long way. My stepdad learned to speak Honduran Spanish the quick way. His missionary friends dropped him off in a village and told him they would be back in 6 weeks. Okay, that's the how to learn, right there.
Mhm.
Be around speakers that doesn't speak English. There's a woman down here, white woman now. She's redheaded, freckle face, pure white. She learned to speak English. She can speak Muskogee just as well as I can. And my mom always talked about her. She said, Igajadi. She called her Igajada. Igajada. She said, Igajadi, Ahiduis. Ona Iduis.
Mhm.
She said, Bona Iduis. And I said, who is that? Because I never met her before. And she said, my Luana Jack in Hadishiduis, Magamas. She said, Luana Jack in Ipojin Hewadoy. Bona Idu, Magan. Well, I never met her before. And one day we was in Nifal, I had taken her mom to the doctor. Mom, she come up to her, and I'm gonna tell you, my mouth dropped open like I was like, I sit there because we were in the car and we were just getting ready to get out, and she was coming in. She was going out while we was gonna go in. And boy, she was speaking to Mama. And I thought, my mom said, you're a speaker, because she's been speaking. She didn't know English. So anyway, I listened to her and my mouth fell open like, I don't know what, like cartoon, you know, it fell down. And I was like, and then after she walked off, and my mom said, Madosh, mapunaya. Lueni, ipojin we done. See, they were all Creek speakers. They didn't really know how to speak English in that family. But when this woman married into that family, she could speak just as well as my mom could. My mom spoke with her, they spoke. They spoke to each other. And like he said, just dropped them off and said, 6 weeks, you're here. Call me when you, after 6 weeks. I think that's how we were. And see, that's what she did. She come into that family that didn't know any English. And she picked it up. She can speak. And this girl is red-headed, freckle-faced now. Pure white. And she's shocking. And it seems weird to see that language come out of her mouth. Because, you know, she's dead. And she, when it comes out of her mouth, it don't seem natural. But then after you get used to her and seeing her, when you saw her speak, there was nothing abnormal about it. But when I first saw her, I was like, oh, gosh. You know, but she's helping us preserve this language. Stay it away. You know, and
Mvhayv, Ahangaman, Oklahoma, you know, Uvalide, Folinoat, and Istilastiman, Bunaida Gitagidonga, Judgeskim, Amonai, Madison, Moat. See ya. Okay. Anyway, we were standing there and we was talking, and all of a sudden, you know, that black man, he started talking because he understood us, and he just jumped in on our conversation because he wanted to find out who we were and where we were from, and so I just stood there and I just looked at him because here's this black guy speaking Creek, and he sounds just like, you know, like my grandpa or, you know, some elder man, you know, and that's the way he was talking too. And it surprised me, but Mom said that they can, because they've been a part of the tribe for so long, you know, that they understand and they speak. So, yeah, so what's just to get what you do much. They used to tell me to watch your mouth around them because they understand.
well, and you know, my uncle, my great uncle, he adopted a little girl, redhead, same thing, redhead. And we was and this was on my dad's side. We was visiting them, and this white girl comes in, and she goes, "Daddy," she said, "Baba," somebody come over and was wanting to know if they had pigs to sell. He said, Morgan. And I was little at that time because my dad died at 7. I was 7. So I had to been like 4 or 5. And I was like, she's the hickey, you know, she's the hickey. And I was like, so I never said a word. And her dad answered her, and she went back out. Well, we was going home, and I told my mom, and see, I was speaking when I was young. I said, and she said, my mom said she was adopted as a baby. This family adopted her. You know, my great uncle or whatever, he adopted her. And she could speak, but it looked funny. And, you know, my mouth dropped open again, and I was about 4 or 5, I guess. And I was like, and when going away home, I just had to ask because I was nosy, you know. I said, and she said, yes, she was adopted. So this guy said he was dropped off with this at this place for 6 weeks. That's how you do it. I think you have to be just always around it and just practice it. Just don't stop using it, you know. In fact, I called when I was looking for pictures, you know, for calendar. Yep, immersion. Yep, that's it. So And I'm gonna try that on y'all. Whether you understand or not, you'll hear words, and I'm gonna try that. I got some good ones coming up here. Like cutting up a chicken. Who knows how to cut up a chicken now? A raw chicken. They want to go to KFC and they want to go to something already cooked. But now for me, I buy the whole chicken because I was taught like yeah.
Can you understand
No
any
one
of
knows
that?
how to, huh?
Can you understand any of that?
To a point, yeah, you said Muskogee, Bunaga, Magaga, Folidais, Moen, Nagi, Eden, Man, Miji Daya, Mijaya, Alectos, Alec. There you go. You're hanging in, right? You're hanging in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let you
you're
know.
hanging on, and that's good because you know what? Like I said, this redhead is helping us save this language and so is everybody on here that's taking this class. Even if it's 12 words you pick up, that's 12 words that you didn't know before. If you can say 5 phrases, that's 5 phrases you didn't know before, and we're going to keep going with this because I got like cutting up a chicken. I'm going to have that come up here soon because that's what I taught before, like cutting up a chicken, how to wash clothes, step by step, how to cut up a chicken, how to make a bologna sandwich. And that's got the vegetables, the bread, because this gives instructions. I know, like this one guy said, I had the beginning creek, but I need to read it more, but I work so much. That's the problem with working people. Sometimes you just gotta, and you know what comes first? You gotta make a living, but spare time, if you got a spare time, spare minute, you would not believe that even 2 minutes will help you, and then you'll think, well, I just studied that while ago because you got the beginning now. So, and I'm gonna do this cutting up chicken. I found all these papers in my files, and I got Halloween words coming, but I'm gonna tell you all a story today if I got time. Okay. Any of these can be made into future tense, past tense. Any of these can be made. Any infinitive verb you have can be made into present, past, or future. Look here, did do, past verbs right here. I looked at ducks. I saw ducks. I was looking at ducks. For Hej Yunks. And it does, let me see if I said it fast. For see, it does sound like an E. Yunks. It does, but it's Yunks. I slept on a bed. Doban no Jayunks. I worked hard. Yipjin Adulgayunks. I walked fast. Buffning Yagabayunks. I ate good. Yipjin Hombayunks. My mom said that one time. She went toward New Tulsa way, and she said, Yipjin Hombayunks. But she said 2 people, Hombayunks. She meant more. She meant me and her. But it's just me, Hombayunks. Obeying Likayunks. She said, Hombayunks. And she said they had we ate good over there. But of course, that's where my daddy went to. He would go over there and take, he had kin folks in New Tulsa way. I'm a little bit of Seminole, not all Muskogee. So this is like anything that you done, you just add this unks to an infinitive verb. I spoke a long time. Well, what name? Bonaya unks. And it does kind of sound that way. Hey, Agalobe unks. Hey, Agalobe unks. I took a hot bath. When my mom's last, what she was telling me, and I know she was having a hard time, but it ever got me. we was taking my daughter to the hospital because she was really bad diabetic. She was going to do it. They were going to test her and they were going to put her under. And my mom said, "Hadheki alegayan." She said her shoulder. Oa hayin, oa kayin, agloben. Doorsat unwekis, arguments. Now I'm telling the story. She said that she woke up, she said her shoulder was really hurting. And she said, so I took a hot shower and it eased down, she said. And I said, "Oh, Mama," I said, "don't lay the hot with this." I said, "I do guess." She said, "Well, I want to be with her." And that was the three that was around her. My kids was the three that was around her all the time. She practically, she was her second mother. And we were sitting there. She died in my arms that day. She died in my arms that day. She took her last breath in my arms. And she was telling me, and that never hit me that she was going to die that day. But I was supposed to take a trip to Arizona that time. And I said, I'm not going. I don't know why I got this feeling not to go. And it was a good thing I didn't go. Or I would have been in Arizona when she passed. But, she died in my arms. And I was like, she talked to me just 5 seconds before. Just 5 seconds. And she died in my arms. And that, and she was still speaking of Muskogee. Still speaking of Muskogee till the day she died. Okay? Still speaking. And it was a shock. We went up there with 5 people to be with my daughter, and we came back with 4. Went home with 4. And she was speaking. Anokio. She said, "Agolobayans. We hay ni okaleaks. And unwaki on. Andagi hakken afterwards." See, she was speaking. But when this is did do for Johita yokes, I looked at ducks. There were no jayokes. I slept on the bed. Yikchin adokayokes. Okay, we got any questions on this? Okay, this is kind of how, and I want y'all to listen now because I'm gonna break these down. I'm gonna read this into sounds. Okay, in the sounds. But Lake Hoyanat. These are all in your sound papers, guys. This is all broke down into sounds. It was really hot this afternoon. Ihi moyides. Yes, it was. Hear that tone? Ihi moyides. Here, this broke down. It was called Nifi Heidoes. Nifi Hei Does. It was. Does, and it was. We haven't used that very much, but does, it was. It was. It's like a filler too. So see how those sounds are coming into this right here. Ma, ya, hey, gida, gifitska. Ma is that. Ya, hey, gida, song. Gifitska, do you know that? Do you know it? Response. Istuvosat. A little bit. Istuvosat. Hear those sounds? Istuvosat. Yeah. You? Monks. Monks. Hear those sounds? These are all sounds that we learned. That's why we didn't go over sounds today, because we're going over them right here. Okay? Let's go walking. Yagabidan ahoyagis. Where? Istan. Dalofa. Dalo fa. Okay, o wa no. These are all sounds. I'm going to the bathroom before we go. Abigo mongin. Jogojin. Yes. See, I'm going to the bathroom before we go. So she said, I'm going to the bathroom. This is right now, present tense. That's why this is on there. Go mungin jugujin. Yes. See how I'm speaking? It's all in sounds, guys. All in sounds. That's how come we didn't go through sounds today, because I was going to do this. I'm always going to speak in sounds. I'm going to lay down and sleep. Wa gay get. Wa gay get. Noja harness. But it's early. See, she's talking to somebody. Response. Hadi. Hadi. Hagi to what? She's saying, but it's early. Hadi hagi to what? Hear that, Tom? Okay, I will lay down later. On hadido so. What God is, or this right here, what God is, or what God is. That is future. I will lay down later. See, later is future. Where are you getting to? It's done. To ja. Response. I'm getting close to my house. Anjogo dimbin. So says. See how this speaking is sounds? That's why I stress sounds. It's all sounds. They're just broke down. You just left. Hadi yit jot. Hadi yit jot. Go to sleep. No, just G. This is a sound in itself right here. G. I can't go to sleep. Response. Januji go dados. Januji go dados. These are all in your sound papers. It's learning sounds, guys. Close your eyes. Das. Jidos wa das. That's a baby now. Hurry and get ready. Looking. Indagas. Indagas. These are all in your sounds. Response. We are going to start at 1. Hasis. Hasis. Kifka. Hamgan. Alejija. Honey. Yes. See? These are all sounds, guys. Okay, look here. Lucinda. Have you seen Lucinda? Have you? Lucinda. Lucinda. Listen now. This is Lucinda, but listen to the creek. Lucinda. Hijisco. Hijisco. Lucinda. Hijisco. Haven't seen her yet. Hadi hijagodos. Hadi hijagodos. This is my grandbaby. Yet this amasoswa dos. It's a amasoswa dos. Pretty. Hello. Hinithos. Najo meja. Najo meja. Yes, it is common to spell names in Muskogee as opposed to spelling them in English. Well, you know, like I told you before, my grandkids, you know, they're named in Muskogee, but the teacher found a way to spell it in English, and well, we had to spell it in English anyway, because like my oldest grandbaby that lives with me is they call her her name is Kaylee Ann, but we call her Keely. Keely. And my middle one is Malena, but we call her Melini. Melini. And my last one is Jigaby, but they call him Jacoby. And see that, and yesterday, in fact, talking about names, we just went through that. We was all eating yesterday. And my grandson, he's the one that, and my husband told me yesterday, he said, Lord be with him, because he's learning. He's asking questions about this language. He goes, my name is Jigaby. Why do they call me Jacoby? Why do they call me Jacoby? And I said, well, baby, tell them your name is Jigaby. He goes, they still call me Jacoby. See? And he's the worker, he's the worker. He's the one that always asks for grace. And he wants to say it in Muskogee. So he says grace in Muskogee. But he asked that question. And then he said, and Malena, he said, they call you Malena. He said, they don't call you Melina. And he said, and even Keely, he said, they call her Kaylee Ann instead of Keely. And see, he wanted to know why. Now that's a question I had a hard time answering. And I said, because they don't know that your name is Jigaby. And I said, and they may not be able to pronounce it. He said, well, my name is Jigaby. And he's named after my grandpa and his great grandpa. And that's what my husband said. I hope he's got, he's got my grandpa's ways, my grandpa's ways. And he said, Lord be with him, that he hangs on to that. But he's named after him. And I figured, he's gonna learn. He gets older, he won't be so inquisitive. But I had to explain why. Why he doesn't know. They don't know what his name is. That is just ignorance on those calling him out of his name. The same thing happened to my grandson. His name is Austin. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to explain to my grandkids, why they're being called those things, which at home they're called different, And so on our papers that we have to fill out, we have to put bilingual home. And bilingual home, we had to put that down. And unfortunately, there's a girl that works there that's Greek, and she knows words, so she helps along with that. Okay, it says Lucinda Hijishko. Listen, Lucinda Hijishko. Have you seen Lucinda? Lucinda and Hijishkos means you haven't seen her, have you? That one word. Hadi Hijakodos. Hadi means I haven't. I mean, like Hadi means just now I haven't seen her. Hijakodos. Hadi. Hadi means like later, I guess. We use that in different ways too. Okay, it's time for that story. Hena Hangit Istilegidumas, Walapka Hujifki. Do you remember him? Do you know him, Ella? Walapka. Walapka means crunched over. And Mama Doga, well, when I knew him, when I knew him, he didn't speak. I asked my mom, I said, Nagan, Noxton, Moy Hitchkadidu, Moy Hitchkadidu, was he born that way? And my mom said, Mongo Dumas, Puna, Dumas, Mardumas. She said that he wasn't born that way. He's really tall. Oh, and they said he limas Mardumas, they said he died. And they said, they back then they cleaned him up themselves and everything. And she said, and they put him in a box, a casket, and said they were going to bury him. And of course, we have wake service, and it's a good thing we do have wake service and stuff. Shima Bo Hogan, they were having a wake for him, and he he come back to life. And he said, He said he really scared people, you know. And I'm gonna tell you another one. One time when my dad died, I remember I was 7. I was old enough to remember. And you know, where when if they were a leader or something, they built a fire for him. And the grounds that they belonged built a fire for him. They had to build it for like 4 days, I think. And my father was a second speaker. He was a Hinningham. So when he died, you know, the grounds people were there and they stayed with us. They stayed there. And we had different people over there to keep us company because that's what they used to do way back. They kept the family company. They buried him. And they went out there to build a fire. And you know, the men, they stayed up talking. But we went to sleep. And the next thing I know, I was little though. The next thing I know, everybody was coming up. But they didn't have the lights on. So I knew something was going on. Because that was habit. They didn't turn on lights when something unusual was happening. Oh, and I want to Jeep walk in. I was laying there awake and Judge Kudidon, Jabawakdon, ma isti Idalwa Yeja. You know, it was my mother, my aunt, my uncles, and my father, the grounds people were there. And this was after burial now. And they said, not in both Tues. They said, we heard something. Because I was asking, what's going on, you know, because it was right after burial. And they said, not in both Tues, Mother. They said, we heard something. And I said, Noggin. And my brother was up too. He said, Noggin. And they said, he's Steve Bonaho and both Tues said they heard somebody talking. So we was laying there awake. All of a sudden we heard this emoluments. We heard this sound. And we stood there, and of course my mom and them was all sitting there. And you know how a casket rolls down? It used to have these belts, and I don't know if they still do that. I think it's automatic now. But these belts they had to crank it and it would make that squeaking sound. Dad did that first. And I told my mom not to get a wash. She said, hush. She told me to be quiet. She said, don't say nothing. I heard that. That's when the hit. And it was that bell. It was like they were rolling that casket back in, and that casket was hitting the ground. Mvhayv. And you know, that scared me. And I wanted to go home, but we had to stay there because that's where, you know, back then they stayed there where he was buried at because people would come around and stay there. I always wanted to go home. That next day I cried to go home. You forget the JRG scares and you're going to apology scares. And I said, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna go home. But they wouldn't take me home, you know. And my grandma's house was haunted anyway. Jaboji, Injogo not doing not don't not don't. And I was always in doing. You couldn't pay me to stay on out there. In fact, my uncle told these boys, my brothers and his friends, they said, I'll pay y'all $100 a piece if y'all go stay on out there. And they wouldn't go. They were being lucky. They were afraid. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't spend a night there for $100. But he told them that they wouldn't do it because my grandma's house was haunted. My grandma was Achidin High Hockey leg, and she was sewing a quilt. And I was little then. She was sewing a quilt, and I played underneath with my Tahagoji. I was playing with my doll underneath the quilt while she was sewing it. And she had an attic that come down the stairs, you know, that come down, and we was in that room, and something was coming down the stairs, and I said, Nagadua. Okay. Mado, Jonathan, Mado. And I like what you said about, you know, dropping him off for 6 weeks, and that's what it takes. Anyway, getting back to the story on Mado Chihija. He said, I said, Nagadua. And Nagadua gets in. They wouldn't say it, they said, hush, my God. And it was like they were cranking that bell and it just hit the ground.
boy, I cried. And then that next morning, of course, they were feeding, they were feeding the visitors. And this was after burial. People stayed around to keep the family company. Boy, I was trying to go home. And that woman and of course, there were different women there and they were cooking and everything. And I heard them talking because I knew how to speak Greek. See, I heard them, they said, "Tuhahawa ma Igananafka Marugas." Somebody said it was that casket that hit the ground. And man, when I heard that, that's when I started bawling. No, go home, you go get a job, you go get a job, scares on. But well, we had to stay there. And I think we stayed there for about 2 weeks, I guess, 14 days, Mahe. We went home to our home. And that was the weirdest thing I ever heard, but I heard that. And then when I heard the people talking about that next morning about, it was that bell and it lowered that casket and it hit the ground. But there wasn't nothing after because those men, they went and looked. A flashlight is a beam, they went down to the cemetery because we weren't too far. My grandma's house wasn't far from the cemetery. And so she said, I'll be here. They didn't see nothing. And boy, that next morning I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to our home. And I stayed at my grandma's house, but that house, and I got more stories. Do y'all want to hear them? Not Mvhayv, what you don't know. It's just American Indians or Native people that has these stories of those things. And I'm sure they got phenomena. I'm sure that Stihekis, I've seen some of their stories too, natural things or something, hauntings or something like that. But a lot of them, they secret. So, but we got some real haunted stories. So, yeah. I don't like to live. I would not go to my
Mahaya. Harabidage, Lubutskat, Nakijagidon, Mahogidon, Geson, Mamundon, Amososwa, had Ostages, Aden Ithki, Sungibahandon, Githiat, living room, and I go down, Geson, said, Daxabagledos, Magido much. He didn't say, I go to Smaget. Hagakit, Aden, Nagin Gajano, and said, Honan Madon, hooked Ajolagi Hookti, Sabaglet, or Smagit Amona, Maris. So I was thinking that my mom and my grandma and my brother came to get my son. And I didn't do it much. I'm a woman. He too much.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks later, we lost him. So.
Yeah, we do his much, well, I got grandma was in the hospital a while. There was an Indian nurse there that knew our family. And we stayed there 2 weeks because, Stijatis didn't leave their loved ones in the hospital. 2 weeks I moved in. And more, I was about 14. So my grandma passed away when I was about 13 or 14. And my uncles, they took turns sitting with her. They in my bogard, I'm getting old, I'm getting Legan. They took turns staying up with her a while. My uncle wanted to smoke a cigarette. He didn't touch them. Late on. That nurse, the Indian nurse, she came in and she said, "If you move to the job, she said, if you want to smoke, go ahead, I'll sit with her." She said, "Not me, said, I'll be back, Margaret." She said, "Let me go to this room and I'll be right back. You can go get some." Well, my uncle went ahead and went out. And that nurse was coming in. She said, "Hook down, she, lady must." She told my uncle, said, who's that woman in there, Desmond? Well, my uncle went out and she said that nurse saw a woman, an old lady with her hair tied and everything, sitting in a chair with her arms crossed with her head down. Well, she didn't ask a question. She just sat there, you know, and walked in and was checked her blood pressure and stuff like that. Checked her IVs and stuff. By that time, my uncle came back in, and then so that nurse, she said, who was that woman that was in there? She said, there wasn't no woman. She said, no, but I was in there by myself, Mom. She said, there was a woman sitting in that chair. And she said, So see, she was dead year by year because not long after she passed, you know. A year by year, that Mom said could have been her mother. It could have been her sister. Because there was like 9 or 10 of them. It could have been one of them that was coming to get her. Yeah, but that's my mom. Said somebody come and got her. Could have been her aunts, could have been anybody that come. But said she was just sitting there. And that woman said, oh, I swear on the Bible there was somebody sitting in this chair. And my uncle said, no, I know the victim, but no, I wasn't there by myself. But anyway, it's 109. It goes over, you know. So we're going to start again, and I'll have those Halloween words hopefully by next week sometime, or even because tomorrow's Friday. Don't go. I'll have them next time. I'll have them hopefully typed up and everything. We're going through them now. So I'll tell some more stories. These are true too. I mean, this is what I experienced. Walking Dead, yeah, we did that. That didn't come out right because we tried all kinds of ways, even breathing Walking Dead. Yagaba, you know, it just wasn't. We were, and I had it before, and I gotta look for that paper. I have to look for it. We did money, you know. It's the illegal. It's dried up, dead person, you know. So, but I got them going, so I'll get it to you. And we're gonna tell some more stories. So, boxing jihitagahe, mado jiget said, ayi best say. Boxing, mado guys, mado. Mado, Anthony, mado. He's a guy who not he will tell some more stories. If y'all guys here,
I'm not a good fan.
oh, I know. Bye bye. Mache.